What if I told you that trillions of dollars are literally buried beneath the feet of millions of people, and that almost nobody knows it? Picture yourself walking through one of the most famous cities in the world. Cars rushing by, people sprinting to work, kids heading to school, coffee shops packed to the door. Just another ordinary day. Now, picture this. Less than 1,000 feet below where you're standing, there's a wealth so staggering, so mind-bending, that it dwarfs the entire economy of most countries on Earth. A wealth that nobody planted, nobody built. It just has always been there. This isn't science fiction. This isn't some conspiracy theory. This is geology. This is history. And it's happening right now, underneath American cities you know by name. We're talking about rare minerals, precious metals, natural resources that the modern world simply cannot function without. And most of that wealth is still untouched, still buried, still waiting for someone with the guts, the technology, and the capital to go after it. Here's the question nobody asks out loud. What happens when an entire city is sitting on top of a deposit that may be worth more than the city itself? That's the story we're telling today. Back in 2010, the United States Department of Defense commissioned a study that very few newspapers covered with the attention it deserved. Geologists, mining engineers, and military strategists were sent to evaluate a specific territory's subsurface. What they found left them momentarily speechless. They discovered what was internally described as an extraordinary geological fortune. But here's the detail that almost nobody talks about. That pattern of underground wealth isn't exclusive to remote, uninhabited territory. The geological reality of the United States is that this country sits on top of one of the most diverse and mineral-rich basins on the entire planet. And a significant portion of those resources lies literally beneath urban areas. Let's put that into perspective with real numbers. The United States Geological Survey, the USGS, the federal agency responsible for mapping and studying America's subsurface, estimates that there are unexplored reserves of critical minerals scattered across dozens of states. We're talking about lithium, cobalt, rare earth elements, uranium, copper, gold, silver, and dozens of other metals that form the backbone of the modern economy. Electric vehicles need lithium. Cell phones need cobalt. Wind turbines need rare earth elements. Solar panels need silicon and silver. Power transmission cables need copper. Virtually everything humanity is building right now for the future depends on materials that are hidden beneath the surface of the earth. And an astonishing amount of those materials sits on American soil, including under American cities. Let's get into specific cases, because this is where the story gets truly fascinating. Most people have absolutely no idea, but Los Angeles is literally riddled with oil wells. Not in the distant past. Today, right now, while you're watching this, beneath residential neighborhoods, beneath shopping malls, beneath parks and schools, there are active oil extraction operations in progress. Some are so discreet that the people living nearby have no idea they exist. The equipment is hidden inside buildings that look like ordinary office complexes from the outside. On the inside, they're full-scale industrial oil extraction facilities. This is not fiction. The Packard oil well, located right in the middle of the city, operated for decades inside a building disguised as a commercial storefront. The Beverly Center, one of the most famous shopping malls in Los Angeles, was built on top of what used to be an oil field. The Baldwin Hills neighborhood, highly residential, houses everywhere, still has active extraction operations running to this day. Estimates suggest that the Los Angeles basin contains oil reserves worth billions of dollars that simply cannot be extracted the traditional way, because the urban fabric that grew on top of them is in the way. The city grew, the oil stayed. The state of Utah is going through a quiet transformation. The Great Salt Lake, which has been shrinking dramatically over the past few decades, raising serious environmental concerns, is revealing something unexpected as its water pulls back. The sediment and brine that get exposed as the lake recedes are extraordinarily rich in lithium. And we're not talking about modest quantities here. Recent studies indicate that the Great Salt Lake may contain lithium concentrations high enough to position Utah as one of the largest producers of the most coveted metal of the 21st century. Salt Lake City, the state capital, is essentially sitting at the edge of one of the largest lithium deposits in the United States. Lithium is called white gold for a reason. It's the heart of the lithium-ion batteries that power everything from your cell phone to the Tesla driving down your street. Global demand for lithium is projected to grow more than 40 times over by 2040, according to projections from the International Energy Agency. And a significant portion of that lithium may be sitting right beneath and around an American city of 500,000 people. Nevada isn't just Las Vegas and casinos. It's also the heart of what geologists are calling the American Lithium Triangle, a geological region covering parts of Nevada, Oregon, and Idaho, with lithium concentrations that until recently rivaled only the largest deposits found anywhere else on Earth. Reno, Nevada's second largest city, sits right in the middle of all of it. The valley where Reno was built is part of a geological formation, the Basin and Range Province, that is one of the most mineral-rich in the entire United States. And here's the number that should stop you cold. The Thacker Pass mine in Nevada holds estimated lithium reserves that, if confirmed, would be enough to fuel America's energy transition for decades. That's less than a 5-hour drive from Reno. Now here's the part that genuinely drops jaws. The United States, a country literally sitting on top of trillions of dollars in critical minerals, is heavily dependent on imports of those very same minerals from foreign nations, in many cases from geopolitical rivals. In 2023, the U.S. imported more than 50% of 51 minerals considered critical to national security. For some specific materials, that dependence reaches 100%. The country doesn't produce a single gram of them domestically. Rare earth elements are the most glaring example. These are 17 chemical elements that got their name not because they're actually rare in the Earth's crust. They're really not. But because they rarely concentrate into economically viable deposits. These materials are absolutely essential for manufacturing consumer electronics, advanced military weapon systems, electric vehicles, clean energy turbines, medical lasers, and an almost endless list of modern technologies. China controls approximately 60% of global rare earth production and more than 85% of global processing. The United States, which has significant deposits of these materials within its own borders, spent decades importing them from China, while its own reserves sat untouched underground. And Russia doesn't need to import critical minerals. It's sitting on top of some of the largest natural resource reserves on the planet, and it knows that better than anyone. What Russia does with that knowledge is what should be keeping every American strategist awake at 3 a.m. Moscow spent decades watching the United States outsource the extraction of critical minerals to other countries. It watched America's dependency on China grow deeper and deeper, and it understood something that Washington took far too long to admit. Whoever controls the minerals controls the future, not metaphorically, literally. Russia is one of the world's largest producers of palladium, a metal essential for automotive catalytic converters and electronics. It controls vast reserves of nickel, cobalt, titanium, and platinum. It holds Siberian territories covering mineral deposits that have barely been touched. And it has an explicit state policy of using those resources as a geopolitical lever. This isn't theory. This is recent history. The same logic Russia applied to European natural gas, creating dependency, then using that dependency as political pressure, is exactly the logic that can be applied to critical minerals on a global scale. And while all of this is happening, while Moscow and Beijing are playing chess with the planet's resources, trillions of dollars in American minerals remain buried, waiting, beneath cities that don't even know they're sitting on a geopolitical chessboard. China already knows what's at stake. Russia already knows what's at stake. The average American is still drinking their morning coffee, thinking none of this has anything to do with them. What's happening in the United States right now is, in many ways, a new gold rush. But this time, instead of prospectors with pans and pickaxes, it's billion-dollar corporations, sovereign wealth funds, and national governments competing for position. The Pentagon, the Department of Defense, has started investing directly in mining projects. Not because it's turned into a mining company, but because it finally understood that without guaranteed access to these materials, the American armed forces simply cannot operate. A modern missile needs rare earth elements. A fighter jet needs titanium. A nuclear submarine needs specialized metal alloys. Without critical minerals, there is no advanced military technology. It's that straightforward. And suddenly the equation changes entirely. We're not just talking about business anymore. We're talking about national security. When we talk about buried fortune, we need to expand our definition of fortune. Because in the 21st century, geological wealth goes far beyond gold, silver, and oil, and some of the most valuable forms of underground wealth are completely invisible. The Ogallala Aquifer is one of the largest underground freshwater reserves in the world. It stretches beneath 8 American states and is responsible for irrigating roughly 30% of all irrigation water used across the United States. Cities like Amarillo, Texas, and Lubbock depend on this aquifer not just for agriculture, but for a basic human water supply. The problem? The aquifer is being drained at a rate far greater than nature can replenish it. In some areas, the water level has dropped more than 160 feet over the past few decades. In part of Kansas and Texas, the aquifer could be completely depleted within 50 years. What once seemed like an infinite source of wealth is revealing itself to be finite. And when the water runs out, what happens to the cities that were built on top of it? Here's a fact that catches almost everyone off guard. Helium, the same gas that fills party balloons, is a strategically critical resource that is being depleted globally at an alarming rate. Helium is absolutely essential for hospital MRI machines, for cooling particle accelerators, for semiconductor manufacturing, and for a wide range of high-precision industrial applications. And unlike other gases, helium is so light that once it's released into the atmosphere, it goes straight to space. It doesn't come back. It's gone forever. Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas sit on top of some of the largest helium reserves in the world, a byproduct of the radioactive decay of ancient rock formations. The city of Amarillo, Texas, was called the helium capital of the world for decades, while the entire world burns through its helium supply. A significant portion of the remaining reserves is literally buried beneath Midwestern American cities that most people can barely find on a map. Opening a mine in the United States is a process that can take decades. Between environmental impact studies, public comment periods, court battles, and approvals from multiple federal and state agencies, the average time to secure all necessary permits for a new mine in the U.S. runs somewhere between 16 and 29 years. Compare that to Australia or Canada, where the same process takes 2 to 5 years. And compare that to China, where the government simply decides and the mine starts operating. When the resource is literally beneath residential neighborhoods, beneath schools, beneath hospitals, beneath critical infrastructure, the equation shifts dramatically. How do you extract oil from under a middle-class neighborhood without uprooting families? How do you mine beneath the center of a city without disrupting the lives of hundreds of thousands of people? How do you balance the economic value of what's below with the social, human, and political value of what's above? There's no easy answer. And it's exactly that tension that keeps trillions of dollars in resources sitting still, waiting. But mineral extraction technology is evolving at a pace that makes possible today what was unthinkable 20 years ago. Artificial intelligence algorithms can now analyze seismic, gravitational, magnetic, and geochemical data to predict, with growing accuracy, where mineral deposits are located before a single drill bit touches the ground. Mining companies are using machine learning to process decades of geological data and identify targets that human geologists would have taken generations to find. That means wealth that was hidden beneath American cities simply because nobody knew exactly where it was is now being mapped in real time with unprecedented precision. The treasure map is being drawn as we speak. There's a pattern that repeats itself throughout all of American history. The wealth shows up. People aren't ready. Chaos takes hold. Some make fortunes. Others lose everything. And then, decades later, society tries to make sense of what happened and how it could have gone differently. It happened with the California gold rush of 1849. It happened with Texas oil. It happened with Appalachian coal. It happened with Montana copper. It happened with North Dakota shale. Now we're standing at the edge of a new cycle, possibly the biggest one of all, because the materials at stake are more varied, more strategically critical, and more globally coveted than anything that came before. You're walking through an American city. Everything looks completely normal. Sidewalks, traffic lights, coffee shops, and beneath your feet, somewhere between the foundation of the nearest building and the depths of the Earth's crust, there's a wealth that the entire world wants, that governments negotiate over diplomatically to secure access to, that companies invest billions trying to find, that armies ultimately exist to protect. The city doesn't know this. Or more precisely, most of the people in the city never think about it. But the geologists know, the military strategists know, the investment funds know, and more governors, senators, and mayors are beginning to understand that the ground beneath their feet isn't just the floor on which they built their cities. It is the single most valuable asset those cities possess. The great question of the 21st century isn't who has the best army or the best technology. It's who has access to the materials that make the army function and the technology run. And a significant portion of those materials is out there waiting patiently, silently, buried deep beneath cities that seem completely oblivious to that fact. Trillions of dollars under cities, under streets, under homes. The greatest resource race in modern history is only just getting started. And whoever understands that first hold the advantage.